Hi Prêt-à-Template designers, let's recreate this look. The end of this year is the spotlight for Rihanna's lingerie brand Savage X Fenty and her catwalk celebrating fearlessness, confidence, and inclusivity. Let's go to the bodice section and find this beautiful plus size model template. I'm gonna take the one on the catwalk, reducing the opacity of the middle template to start drawing the same model. And I will pick a small size pencil and get a face colors palette to get a dark brown color to start creating a drawing. Now I'm going to keep in mind that this layer with this drawing is probably going to be deleted in the end. So any additional lines that I need to build is going to be okay. So this is not like a final drawing. I'm marking the center line of the face because of the turn of the head. And the line for the eyes is gonna get the other way around because the head is not looking down, is looking up. So all these circular motion is going to look the other way. And I'm looking for the hairline, starting with a big features, the end of the nose, the eyes. So the eye level is actually always in the middle, but since the head is looking up, it tends to make the first part with the forehead a little bit shorter. And then here's the end of the nose and the edge of the bottom lip. So I can find the mouth. And the eyes also going to be on this circular line. And start to build rough features using these guides. For now it's enough. I know the face features look quite rough, but that doesn't matter because I will elaborate the drawing on the next layer in color. So just trying to find the neck movement, and I think the neck looks too short, so I'm going to add one more layer, and I'm gonna take scissors, move the head somewhere on the empty area. I will take an eraser and make the space clear, and then pick again the scissors and make a copy back, but shifting it a little bit higher upwards to make the neck have more space. Drawing shoulders, it's important to understand this movement. You see how it's not straight but skewed. So one thing to consider, that to draw a figure that looks balanced, you have to alter this movement on the hips. So if the shoulders look tilted to one side, make sure the hips are tilted to the other side. They should not repeat the same movement, they should be the opposite. That way you will have the beautiful balanced movement in the figure. So when it comes to legs, I probably could have just stick to the template, but I decided, so let's go ahead and do the same thing that's on the photo. Although I cannot see the bottom part of the figure, that's all right. I'm just going to try and imagine how that would look like. The reason why I want to do this is just to show you that the template is there to help you, but that does not mean that that's the only thing you can draw. You can take it as a base and develop your own illustration from there. So I took as a base the top part of this template, but it will help me to create a little bit different pose. And I can see where the feet are going to be placed. I can see the proportion, but I'm not going to repeat the exact same movement. And for the hands, the same idea is to create the same movement as on the photo. I removed the template just to see more clear how it's going to look like. I like first to draw the hand entirely and then apply the part of the clothing, just so that the hand doesn't look awkward. So I have to make sure that it feels right, and then I will apply the covered part. So I'll use the same approach to the other hand. It's important to consider the length of the hand and the angles that it creates. If it helps, you can always look at the negative space inside the hand and like between the hand and the body. That will help you to get a better sense of shape and angles. And so here it is, the drawing looks done right now. I'm going to add the background. I have created a background for my illustration. Pressing on this camera icon, I can select the picture with the background and then drag this layer under my drawing. So now whatever I will draw, I will see how it looks on top of the similar background. You can use any picture you want basically to have the same background or any other one. So I'll create one more layer between the background and under the drawing. Take a flat marker and start coloring the face. I'm gonna use this face palette. And I always begin with this approach by just roughly determining what planes of the face catch light and what planes of the face catch shade, and make them like really big and rough. So I'm moving from big to small. Big is just to establish the light and dark on big shapes, and then slowly moving into smaller shadows, smaller lights, etc. So looking at this picture, I can see the light falling from the left side as the right part of the face is in the deep shadow. So I'm taking this light color and trying to find the lighter parts of the face and just really roughly finding these areas. Now simultaneously I'll pick a darker color and start working on the shadows. And I'm finding some under the chin is gonna be on the surfaces that look down and surfaces on the right. So looking at the reference picture and having a split screen really helps here to see how this is going to look. So as I continue using the same approach, I might start with adding darker shadows. You see this hand is completely in the shadow, so there's no light parts. Let's start adding these dark shadows even to the right side of the face as well. And use your drawing just as a guide, because if you need to do any adjustments, you have a really good opportunity to do it on this stage. It doesn't matter. You can just simply switch off the layer with the drawing later, and it won't hurt your work. You can always do adjustments on any stage of the drawing. All the skin areas are covered, and it's a good time maybe to create a new layer and start working on the face features. So again, you can start editing the drawing that you have on a new layer. You can refine or move some features. That's totally all right. I'm using a thin pen and just going to repeat the drawing of the eyes and add some features. So I'm checking a lot how it's going to look without the drawing by pressing on that eye icon and seeing how it's going to look. And now on the new layer, I'm trying to add this yellow color. So I made a new layer just to not disrupt my previous drawing and make it like on top of what I've painted before. I picked a little darker shade and warmer to the right side because it's in the shadow, and I'm going to use this brighter yellow to the left side. This is the final touches that I am doing using the pencil, and frankly speaking, you can always dedicate to the drawing as much time as you need and add as many details as you need. The longer you'll spend on this drawing, the more realistic it's going to look. I'm going to try and fit in the 1 hour tutorial frame and see how much can I actually finish in 1 hour. So it's like a base. It really depends on the level of finishing you want. You can spend more time on making this very soft transitions. It could be helpful as well to take the blur tool, the smudge tool, maybe smudge some lines. It depends on your style of drawing and the finishes that you like. So I would stop right here so I have enough time to dedicate to the actual piece. And I'm going to create a new layer using this beautiful orange color. Using a flat marker of the smallest size, I'm going to start roughly placing the color on the entire area. And then keeping in mind that it's a mesh, I'm going to use maybe some kind of a hatched approach to it. The nice thing about this marker is that it's semi-transparent, so you can alternate the full opacity parts of this bra and as well using some type of hatching to create a transparency effect. And I can see right now that I'm going to have to go back to my layer of skin and color the areas that are see-through, because now I can see a lot of blue there and I need a skin tone. Let's see how this is going to look with a skin showing through. So going back to the layer of skin and picking some colors to complete these areas. Looking at this picture and thinking what can I do more, so adding a small really dark shadows underneath the pieces of clothing really add a lot of realism and depth, because they don't exist on its own, they're placed on the body, therefore they create shadows. Once you will add them, you will see how much more depth and realism that creates. So I'll use the small parts, and I'm using the smudge tool as well to maybe make them softer, but I'm gonna do that later. So underneath the edges, I'm going to place this really dark, thin areas of color. I think it already looks good and has enough realism, but I'm going to take a very light color and add some highlights, because you can see the velvet parts on the straps, and on the mesh they're actually creating this beautiful lustrous shine, and I'm going to add that just as a final detail. On the new layer, I'm starting to work on the robe. This layer is underneath the bra layer, so that I can stop worrying about the edges and just color right under it. And I'm placing this dark burnt orange color inside to kind of show that it's in the shadow behind. And overall, this approach to this satin robe is going to be that you can see that there's like 2 or 3 shades to be used. One is really light to create that highlight shine. The middle value is going to be this beautiful muted orange. And then the darkest is going to be this really deep ochre color, like dark bronze. So these 3 shades can be alternated into a pattern, like the one you see on the picture in the shadow and the light. And hopefully I will have the same effect. For the sleeve, I might start coloring with the lightest shade, which is going to be my light and pretty much cover the entire area. I'm using the marker and trying to follow the boundaries of the drawing. Even if some drawing of the hand shows, that doesn't matter because I'm going to switch off that layer in the end of my work. Here's the first layer that is done. It's time to start adding the darker color, moving the toggle to get a darker value of the same color. I'm actually taking another color that's more red. The thing with shadows is that they actually aren't the same color most of the times. If you're gonna take, say, yellow and then just make it closer to black, your shadows are always going to look dead. So if you're using yellow as your highlight, then moving towards the shadow, just add a tiny bit of red. Make it a little bit more towards red. Not really red, but move it towards orange a bit. And then the darker they are, you still have to move it a little bit towards red. And that's when your shadows will really have that glow and sparkle. So you see that I'm using a little bit the orange that looks a little bit more red. And I'm going to place it on all the middle value areas. And still will add some shadows after that. Time for the shadows. I took a much darker color and adding these deepest dark parts. And I feel the intensity of these shadows might not be enough. So I'm taking this darker color and see it's even moving towards the red more. And I will create these deepest darks. So I wasn't really happy with the way the brown looks. I'm still looking for something that will look more red. And I think this color looks good, so I'll use it all over the drawing to create the deepest darks. Maybe I could still add some highlights, so I will take the color that I used in the beginning and make it lighter. And see if I can add maybe a couple of light areas. This looks alright, so I will start working on the hands and small details because they look really underworked. And I need to add sneakers. I have another view where you can see them quite well, and it's going to be just a black base with some white soles and white stripes. In the end, I want to add a shadow. So let's create one more layer and drag it under, just on top of the background, and have a flat marker with a black color to it, and add some shadow, because right now the figure is a bit floating in the air. One shadow is a cast of shadow from the figure. I actually didn't consider, so the light goes from the left side. That means the shadow will go towards the right side, and I will direct it towards the right. The reason I took a black color because my background is already really dark. So in order to make it visible, I'm going to use the darker color. If it would be a white background, I would take probably a light gray, and it would work perfectly for me. That's it. I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and thanks for watching it. Please give this video a like and subscribe to this channel.